what's poppin', everybody, and welcome to Free by Choice with Ace. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you hit that like and subscribe. Come join the community. And if you coming back, welcome back. I appreciate it. I mean, you like my first video last time. Right here, we on video 2. I'm gonna try and get some videos in every day. Things do happen every day, and I get my thoughts off every day. But I'm definitely gonna make sure I tap in with everybody weekly. But just make sure you tap in, hit that subscribe button. Yo, never in a million years did I ever think a rap beef would end up in a court. You feel me? But here we are today. Kendrick dropped that song, Not Like Us, last year. We was all there. Everybody lost sleep, no matter what side you was on, Drake's side, Kendrick's side. I didn't really have a side to be on. I was really vibing with it, but towards the end, I really started to fuck with Kendrick shit. But everybody was where they was at. Everybody remember where they was at. It was one of them big things. But never in my life did I think that this would turn out to be something that ended up in the court. Like it's no it's no diss record in the history of diss records that ever ended up in court because the person who lost the battle, no matter what you think, the person who lost the battle decided they wanted to sue. But here we are. That's what your man's Drake did. And I've been seeing some people talk about this for the culture, this for the culture. I don't think this for the culture at all. This is just for Drake. I mean, he a grown man, he could do what he want. But what he doing right now is definitely gonna ruin hip hop culture. Feel me? Whether he's successful or not, it's gonna ruin hip hop culture. And we already seen it happening. Look what's been happening with the Pusha T verse. You see how they was trying to censor what Kendrick was saying on the Pusha T verse. You feel me? But we gonna talk about that in another video. But I just want y'all to know that this is what's happening from for the culture. You know what I mean? This is what happens when you bring lawsuits and defamation and all types of stuff. Basically, all hip hop is about defamation. You feel me? A lot, like that's a big part of hip hop. You don't vibe with somebody, you gonna say some crazy stuff. Just say something wilder. You know what I mean? Just like Drake did. But let's get back into this. What we was talking about. We're gonna talk about this case. UMG versus Drake. They had their opening arguments and everything like that. On the defamation to try and get that dismissed. So we're gonna start. We're gonna read this. Read a little transcript of what was going on. Then we're gonna talk about it. All right. So this is Judge Vargas. Now I mean, Judge Vargas. Damn. I don't. Now that I think about it, I don't even know if that's a girl or a man. So I'm gonna just. We not even gonna give no type of pronouns. So Judge Vargas. What they said to UMG, they said, "Yo, you seem to say a diss track can never be defamatory, but the New York law says that the form is not the positive." And I'm gonna come clean. I don't even know what the positive mean. But I will go clean. I don't know what the positive mean. If you know what it mean, drop that in the comments. Let me know. But I don't really know what it mean. But the UMG lawyer responded and said, "Look at the shock jock cases." And that's when Judge Vargas said, "It's not the same thing. Perhaps the court needs more info, and they cannot dismiss." That's how they started it. So everybody or the Drake stands was on Twitter like, "Oh, they thought that meant it was over. It ain't over yet." So we gonna go on, right? UMG lawyer says Drake opened the door in third person so that when Kendrick Lamar says, "I hear you like I'm young," it's no surprise. If you remember back when Drake dropped what was that song he did with Tupac and Snoop voice? Tailor Made. I mean, on Tailor Made, he went and said, "Kendrick, we need you." And telling me like young girls. I heard it on the Button podcast. I remember that. So with that being said, the UMG lawyer is basically saying like, "Yo, this not even the first time. Like, this is not news to anybody. Matter of fact, Drake is the one who told him to do it. So he told him to do it, and one could argue just as well as Kendrick said that. Now, I mean, Drake is the one who exposed this theory to the world. You feel me? Drake exposed this theory to the world. So how do we know that the fans who believe it? How we know they don't believe it because Drake said it himself? You feel me? How we know Kendrick don't believe it because Drake said it himself? Know what I mean? Now this is what the lawyer was trying to say. You feel me? And they make a valid point. That's a valid point, right? So that's when, Judge Vargas says, Mr. Lamar suggests that there's other secrets that he has yet to reveal, and it's ambiguous. And that's when the UMG lawyer says, these are questions of the law. You feel me? We talking about the law. And the court can dismiss this. That's when Judge Vargas was like, what is a certified pedophile? Yo, this is crazy, bro. I can't believe this is happening in court right now over a rap beef. But, Judge Vargas says, what is certified pedophiles? UMG lawyer goes, it's a play on certified lover boy. everybody know Drake dropped a album Certified Lover Boy, and that's when Kendrick says Certified Lover Boy, Certified Pedophile. Wow, wow. Now I mean, that's when the judge goes. But would the ordinary listener know the name of Drake's album is Certified Lover Boy? You feel me? So basically they saying is like, if pretend I'm the ordinary listener, right? I ain't a Drake standing there. I'm an ordinary listener, and I hear the line, certified lover boy, certified pedophile. Am I gonna think like, yo, this is just a play on Certified Lover Boy Drake's album? Or am I gonna think that Kendrick is calling Drake a certified lover boy and a certified pedophile? You feel me? And that's kind of crazy to me because I feel like I don't know if the judge is like playing like devil's advocate, or the judge really is not familiar with Drake's work. You feel me? Because I don't know. Maybe it's just my generation, but I don't know nobody who don't know everything Drake put out, whether you a Drake fan or not. Like, how could you not? For a long time, it was really just Drake running shit. You feel me? You know, and that's when you say, you know, it's the context. That's all rumors. It's all about Drake, you know, and young females. And, you know, then the UMG lawyer then goes, we seek dismissal for Drake having used the information and belief form of pleading. Feel me? So basically, Drake's lawyer, I don't really know how to say his last name, Gottlieb. When they filed their motion and everything, they said we have on information and belief. You feel me? And what that basically means is like they don't have no facts. You feel me? They don't have no facts. There's no proof. They just got it on information and belief, meaning that somebody told them that they heard this. Know what I mean? Like, so I'm gonna introduce this to y'all, and then from there, if y'all think it might be true, let's go ahead and investigate it. But they don't really have no proof on it. So UMG is saying like, yo, this is just like a, you know, they fishing. They don't have no proof, so they just throwing things at the wall to see what stick. You feel me? And then that's when the judge looks at, you know, Drake's attorney is like, yo, Mr. Gottlieb for Drake. Know what I mean? Gottlieb goes on a Rule 12 motion, the question of whether the listener could, is in quotations, could have thought the facts were being conveyed. Which makes sense, you feel me? Because a listener could have thought that those were facts. You know, they could have thought that those was facts, right? But I don't know if that's enough to make things move forward, you know? Because, you know, we know most people, you know, this is not new. You feel me? This is can this in order for it to be defamation, Kendrick had to introduce something new, a new narrative. He didn't introduce a new narrative. In fact, Drake introduced the narrative before Kendrick ever even dropped a song. You feel me? Taylor Made came out before Euphoria. Taylor Made came out before 616 in LA. Taylor Made came out before Not Like Us and Meet the Grams. You feel me? And at that point, Drake had already introduced that. So if you really think about it, Drake kind of said it. Drake said, yo, telling me like young girls, ah. You feel me? That's what Drake told him to do, right or wrong. So it's like if I get on the media and I say, yo, such and such, like I can't even put that on myself. If somebody get on the media and they say, I like young girls, and then somebody else, now you got the whole world thinking you like young girls. Know what I mean? You introduced that. Kendrick didn't do that. You introduced that. You feel me? So that's when Drake lawyer goes, they want your honor to weigh 17 articles, but the time to weigh the evidence is not at this stage. So UMG is basically saying like, yo, review all of this stuff that we telling you. And after you review all of this stuff, you going to dismiss it. Drake's lawyer is saying like, yo, this not the time to review that. And what that sound like to me is Drake lawyer know if they do review it, it's gonna get dismissed. So he basically saying like, yo, we not even supposed to be reviewing that right now. We moving way ahead of the game. Let's go ahead and just get things moving forward so we could get this discovery and discover some things, because right now, like I said back, they don't have no proof. They moving on information and belief, which is like basically hearsay. They don't have no proof. You feel me? So he trying to move forward. And I get it. It's smart. But, you know, so that's when the judge responds and says, I could take judicial notice. The lyrics are what they are. Know what I mean? And then that's when Drake's lawyer says, UMG made the song more culturally ubiquitous than any other 9 billion streams played at the bar mitzvah. And that's when the judge goes, that's an interesting bar mitzvah that they would play that song. Nah, it was crazy, bro. Not Like Us was crazy. You feel me? So when they was trying to say that whole bots and everything, they just kind of be contradicting themselves. Because how is it bots? But then you got all you say is so viral, this, that, and the third, and UMG made it that way. I don't get it. I don't get it. But whatever, it's not my case. It's not meant for me to get. But I don't get it. You know what I mean? So then the judge goes, then there's use of AI voice of Tupac, right? Drake lawyer goes, I'm not convinced of the relevance. Now I mean, he know what time it is. Basically, the judge is getting ready to say, like, hold on, bro. Didn't your client Drake, ain't he the one who introduced us to the world? You feel me? So your man's is basically saying, like, I ain't convinced of the relevance. Like, how's that relevant? And everybody know when somebody starts saying, how's that relevant? How's that relevant? It's because they don't got nothing to say back. And it usually be relevant. Know what I mean? That's when the judge goes, shouldn't I view the entire rap battle? You feel me? Like, don't you want me to look at the whole battle, or you only want me to look at your points of view? You feel me? That's when Drake lawyer said this was unique. I don't know how it was, but neither here nor there. Drake lawyer said this is unique. That's when the judge was like, "Yo," basically saying like, because their whole argument is that UMG is trying. They did all of this to destroy Drake. You feel me? And they knew that Kendrick was performing at the Super Bowl. That's it's all in the paperwork. You feel me? And the judge was just like, "Yo, Kendrick didn't even know he was going to perform at the Super Bowl. So like, how you saying that? Like, walk me through that. Tell me how this. If Kendrick didn't even know he was going to perform at the Super Bowl at the time, walk me through that." Drake lawyer says basically like after they figured this out, and I'm gonna use direct quotes. UMG republished the material with knowledge when it launched the Super Bowl campaign that there was 3 attacks at his home. So basically, they trying to say that Kendrick's song is the reason that Drake house got shot at, which is wild. Like, that's a lot of credit to give Kendrick. You feel me? So you basically saying you the sixth guy. You feel me? You the sixth guy, and Kendrick, he not even from Canada. He put out a song and it made people in your city go shoot up your house and attack. Know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy because when Push Ups dropped, and I don't even think it was called Push Ups at the time, but when that shit dropped, he said, I get more love in the city that you from. So it was like, dang. So you telling me nothing happened to Kendrick? Matter of fact, Kendrick came to your city and performed, sold out the crowd back to back. Nothing happened to him. Thankfully nothing happened. But him dropping a song, it got people in your city shooting up your house. That's wild. That's wild. I wouldn't even have put that. Like, I wouldn't even have gave nobody all that credit. That's crazy. You know what I mean? But then the lawyer goes on. He proceeds to say the cover art is Drake's home with sex offender location tags. Know what I mean? And then that's when the judge, it kind of seemed like the judge is like a Kendrick stan or like a Kendrick fan. And I don't even know if it's necessarily that or if it's just like, bro, it's obvious that this is this is wild. Know what I mean? The judge goes, didn't Drake say Kendrick Lamar is not the biological father of his child? And here go your man's Drake lawyer. The court doesn't have enough info on that. Yo, it's wild, bro. Cause then, remember, I don't know if y'all remember, but like back in, earlier they had took out the bots and all of that stuff like that. He kind of just threw that in there right now. He said 10% of the streams are false. A popular podcaster alleged the use of bots. And that popular podcaster is Joe Budden. But remember, Joe Budden came on and said, yo, bro, I was just talking. I wasn't saying that I know for a fact that Kendrick used bots. I was just talking and saying, like, yo, everybody be using bots. Know what I mean? And then there was also that one dude saying that they was getting paid for streams. And it's wild because we all seen this happen in real time. You feel me? The dude said that he was lying. He was just trolling. You feel me? That never happened. So I don't really know what's going on. I don't really know what's going on. You feel me? But I think this case sounds crazy. You feel me? Matter of fact, I took the whole document, the transcripts and everything, and I put it in the ChatGPT. And let me tell you what I asked ChatGPT. Hold on, give me a second. All right. So I asked ChatGPT, right? I said, read this and tell me what you think. Do you think Drake will win or UMG? And I put the whole Google Drive and I let them read all the documents, right? He thought about that. And I got the real ChatGPT. I don't got that free one. I got the one they pay for, right? I asked it to just because they started talking like legal. I don't really know um really what they was talking about, but I'm gonna read like what it was saying, right? It says, bottom line, this is basically summing it up. It says, motion to dismiss stage. The judge must accept Drake's facts only if they're well pleaded and legally cognizable, right? Cognizable. Most of his theories hinge on defamation, and the First Amendment plus publication gaps gives UMG a strong lane to get the core of that case tossed out now. Now, I mean, so basically they're saying because of the First Amendment and all of that stuff like that, you can't really argue that that's defamation. So UMG could probably get that tossed out. And if they get that tossed out, the whole case fall apart. Feel me? Then it says likelihood of an outright win. They said that chance is greater than 70% for UMG on the pleadings. It says, if my readings of the practice, in my reading of the SDNY practice, partial survival is possible, but that alone wouldn't give Drake the $1 billion headline that he's chasing. So they saying it is possible, but the chance that they gonna lose is greater than 70%. It's a greater than 70% that UMG is gonna win. You feel me? Then so basically that's what ChatGPT is saying. Based off everything they reading, it's a 30% chance, at most 30% chance that Drake wins. Now, when you say win, I don't really even know what that means because do I think Drake is gonna be canceled? Nah. Do I think Drake got a lot of fans, so he gonna be all right? Yeah. But I think there's no winning this. I think there's nothing but losers going forward for this because I think this is going to really change hip hop going forward. You feel me? Now the labels already be combing through everything everybody say, right? But now they really gonna do it. You feel me? Because it's like they don't want no parts of that. UMG the big dogs, you feel me? But what about the smaller labels who can't really afford this? You feel me? If a smaller label, was to get hit with something like this and they lost, they going, they done. You feel me? UMG will be alright, but they done. So your man's Drake, bro, he not for the culture. He he begged somebody to come outside. He taunted him. You feel me? He taunted him. He begged him, drop, drop, drop. Talked about his son, talked about his wife, talked about his daughter, talked about everything. Talked about his mother. Said he was molested. Everything. You feel me? But because he lost, he decided, yo, I'ma sue. I'ma sue, and I think that's crazy, bro. And that's crazy, bro. And like I just feel like I wish he never did that. Cause I was a real big Drake fan. You feel me? I was a real big Drake fan. And after seeing that, it's like I can't respect him. You feel me? And as a man, I feel like I don't care about your money. I don't care about none of that stuff. High judgment is based off their morals and their code. You feel me? And I feel like the moral and the code that Drake got, I just don't vibe with it. You feel me? I don't vibe with it. You feel me? Nipsey said, if you ain't living, dying by the street code, I can never view you as my equal. Fuck, I want to hear your CD for. That's how I feel about Drake, bro. Like, you lost a battle, bro. You lost a fight, and now you want to sue? Yo, bro, we don't got the same morals. We don't got the same code. And I can't, like, bro, I'm not no standing nobody that I could sit back and, try and make that okay, because it's not okay. I'm not a standing nobody that I would sit back and try and justify that. Now, I mean, it's so wild seeing people trying to make it seem like it's okay. And, like, ever since the battle, bro, I just been, seeing a lot of shit that Drake been doing, and it's just like, I can't even respect you, bro. You out here getting your abs surgically put in your body. That's wild, bro. That's wild. You feel me? You I don't know, bro. I feel like you hate me. You feel me? I feel like you hate me and you don't want me to like your music. I tried, bro. I tried. I even went back and listened to old music and it just didn't hit the same, bro. I tried to be unbiased. Matter of fact, if you could check my tweets, Poppy Ace FBC, you check my tweets on Twitter. You see when this all started, I made it clear like, yo, uh, I vibe with Drake music way harder than Kendrick's, and now it's completely different now, bro. And I feel like, I feel like Kendrick really stood on businesses, and it's not even about just a rap battle. I feel like just moral code as a man. I feel like I align more with who Kendrick is and what he about. You feel me? And I ain't even really know that, but like seeing how Drake move, bro, that shit crazy, bro. That shit crazy. He moving exactly like who everybody always said he was. You feel me? And it's crazy, bro. Like I don't even know how we got here. I don't know how we went from best I ever had to like a nigga rapping about doing drills. Like how we got here? How we got here? I don't know nobody who became a gangster when they turned 40. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. I don't even know, bro. You can't go from love songs to gangster music to suing. What? Yo, bro. Suing because a nigga said something you ain't like, and you trying to jack it as, yo, nah, I'm not suing Kendrick, I'm suing the label. Bro, your whole argument is based off things Kendrick said. You might as well be suing Kendrick. It ain't no different. You feel me? That's like if you in school, right? You in school, right? You in high school, and it's a dude in your school who he don't bother nobody. He don't bother nobody. He mind his business. You that nigga though. You talk big shit. You be popping shit all day, right? And you you decide that you want to taunt the nigga the whole like, yo, come outside. I'm gonna beat you up at 3 o'clock. I'm gonna beat you up at 3 o'clock. Come outside. For a week. Tell everybody, like, yo, he's scared. He ain't responded to me yet. He's scared. He's scared. 3 o'clock come, bro, show up. Knock you out. Pow. Knock you out. You feel me? And now you want to sue the school because you got knocked out on the school property and they and they ain't do nothing about it to stop him from punching you. That's basically what's happening. Wouldn't that be some sucker stuff right there? If you taunted a dude this whole time and then he knocked you out and you sue the school because he knocked you out on school property. That's some sucker stuff right there. You feel me? But now because of that, feel me? Because of that, everybody gotta everybody got to go through metal detectors and stuff like that. Everybody getting arrested, all of that, whatever in school because you decided you was gonna tell. That's crazy, bro. That's some real crazy stuff. He basically got mad. He went to the basketball court. He got mad, took his ball, and went home. Now, I mean, your man Drake is wild for that. Now, it's just my thoughts. Feel me? You don't really gotta agree with me, but I just want to know what everybody think of this case so far. Me personally, I think it's the worst thing that ever happened to hip hop, and we gotta dead this narrative about how this is for the little man, whatever all the the drizzlers was trying to say. We got dead that. This is corny. Your man's Drake is corny for this, and this is gonna be the biggest L. This the biggest L I ever seen in hip hop history. I never seen somebody lose this bad. I never seen it. I never seen it. But drop your comments and let me know what you think. You think this the corniest L in hip hop history, or you think Drake could come back from this? And I ain't talking about numbers because we know he gonna always do numbers. I mean, I'm talking about legacy. You think his legacy could survive this? Let me know. Drop your comment.